Good morning. Welcome to the National Headquarters Annual Ancestor Service. We are gathered today to pray to God in Meishu Sama for the spiritual elevation and salvation of our ancestors and loved ones, as well as for all the victims of war, terror, conflict, man made, and natural disasters. We will begin our service today with the presentation of offerings to God. Please remain seated and pray along silently for the opening prayer.
Great God of light, to whom these sacred divine scroll and altar have been dedicated. In deep reverence, we ask permission to celebrate the Miroku Association annual prayer for the salvation of our ancestors. With our hearts filled with gratitude, we thank you for the protection, help, and countless blessings you have continuously given us. We ask that our spirits and bodies be blessed and purified by your divine light, that our vibrations may be raised ever higher, and that we may continue to be used as instruments in your divine plan. Help us through your love to keep our thoughts positive and our deeds constructive, that we may serve your divine plan and live in health, peace, and prosperity. Please give us the strength and wisdom to practice this year's guidelines in our everyday life, while renewing our faith and celebrating 90 years since the birth of our church and the 70 years of Meishu Sama's ascension. Let us expand our practices of faith by intensifying our dedications to the practices of Jorei, participating in prayer services, offering donations of gratitude, and guiding individuals capable of overcoming purifications, as well as living in accordance with the daylight age. Today, we acknowledge and offer a special prayer for our ancestors, family, and loved ones who are enshrined at the sacred grounds and those who are included in the prayer forms placed upon our sacred altar. We pray also for all the souls who have spiritual affinity with the Miroku Association and all victims of war, conflict, terror, man-made and natural disasters. We ask that you grant them eternal salvation and allow them to become effective instruments to realize your divine plan for paradise on earth and thereby attain peace and everlasting happiness. Great God of light, please strengthen and guide us in our service to you and to humanity, and allow us, with all our ancestors, to serve in your divine plan.
We will now present the pine branch offerings, symbolizing our gratitude for shelter, represented by the pine branch itself, and also for our clothing, by way of the white paper covering them. The first pine branch will be presented by the president of the Miroku Association, Reverend Marco Negrão. And now, representing all participants, Ciro Moreira Gibaldi and Silvia Tavares. Please join us in the bows and claps. Please remain standing for the Amatsu Norito, the prayer of heaven, followed by the prayer for paradise on earth.
Ka amahara ni kamuzumarimasu. Kamurogi kamurogi no mikoto mochite. Sumeni oya kamurisana ni no mikoto. Tsukushi no himukano tachihana no. Odono ahani harani, misogi harai tamo, toki ni narimaseru. Harai dono kamitachi, moro moro no, magakoto sumikerare o. Araitamae, Kiyometamae, Tomao, Sukoto no Yoshio, Amatsu Kami, Kunitsu Kami, Yao Yorosu no Kami, Tachi Tomoni, Ame no Fuji Komano, Nini Furita Tete, Kikoshi Meseto, Kashikomi, Kashikomi no Maosu. Miroku o Mikami, Mamori Tamae, Sakirae Tamae, Miroku o Mikami, Mamori Tamae, Sakirae Tamae. Ushie miyoya nushi no kami, Mamori tamae, Sakirae tamae. Ushie miyoya nushi no kami, Mamori tamae, Sakirae tamae. Amagara Tamachi Haemase, Amagara Tamachi Haemase. In deep reverence, we acknowledge the fact that the great God of light has appeared and will continue to appear on earth in many different manifestations in order to fulfill his plan of establishing paradise on earth. God will dispel all of the earth's spiritual clouds, will cleanse all the sins and impurities from both the spiritual and the physical realms, and will bring about the ideal world of paradise on earth, one filled with light, everlasting joy, and happiness everywhere. Lord, all humanity and every living creature has longed for throughout the ages. In this paradise there will be perfect weather all year round, with a gentle breeze blowing every fifth day, and rain falling every 10th day, without storms of any kind. Because of God's boundless love, all evil spirits and misguided ones will realize their mistakes and submit themselves to divine rule. All bad practice will cease, and all wrong laws will be corrected, because negative forces will be awakened to truth and released from their attachment and unused desires. All forces of light will be able to fulfill their missions unhampered. Even nature itself, its mountains, rivers, and foliage, will be influenced by the love of God. All life, birds, animals, fish, and insects will have their rightful places and will enjoy their individual lives. Such is the state of the new ideal world. In the sky overhead, birds of heaven will be seen flying, and auspicious clouds will float along, portending happy events. On earth, countless beautiful flowers will fill the air with their lovely fragrance. Holy sanctuaries of the God of light, in sacred grounds, will be soaring into the sky, and countless magnificent miracle centers, and city homes of light will fill all the towns on earth with their golden tiled roofs glittering in the sun. This is truly the picture of paradise on earth. Everyone will have bountiful harvest, and their storehouses will be full of grain. Fish are caught in abundance. Happy voices will be heard everywhere, and everyone will enjoy life to the fullest. Boundaries between countries will disappear, and enmity between races and all conflicts will vanish like dead dreams. All people on earth will become one under the rule of the great God of light. All will be embraced in God's loving arms. In our daily work and livelihood, we will be guided by God's intelligence and wisdom. We will all enjoy prosperity by doing good deeds, helping others, and accumulating virtue. Without needing to rely on medicine, we will be blessed with health and longevity. Oh God, please bless us with your great love and boundless benevolence, and help us to live in accordance with your will. We pray from our innermost hearts that paradise on earth may be a reality. Great God of light, protect us and bless us with supreme happiness. Our founding spiritual father, Meishu Sama, protect us and bless us with supreme happiness. In accordance with your will, radiate our souls with your divine light.
Let us recite together the prayer for ancestors and the memorial services poem.
Great God of light, bless and protect the souls of our loved ones, whose journey here on earth is over, and as they continue on with great God, encircling our life, may they be raised to ever finer and higher states of true eternal bliss. Great God of light, bless and protect us all. Radiate our souls with your divine light, so that we may truly become instruments of your great light. In the physical body, the spiritual progress is limited. In the spiritual realm, there are no limits to one's growth. Because of your service to God in the spiritual realm, you have risen and will continue to rise to ever higher and higher planes. The human soul is priceless, repeating birth and death over and over again, growing and expanding throughout eternity.
Please be seated. We will now receive group Jare. Jury is now concluded. Let us listen to a teaching of Meishu Sama.
Our spiritual connection to our ancestors. When a person dies, family members observe a period of mourning and hold regular memorial services in Japanese Buddhism until 49th day of the transition and until 50th day of the transition in Shintoism, the traditional religion of Japan. Until that day, it is generally believed that the spirit of the departed remains in the astral plane, which is between the spiritual vibration and density of the physical plane and the spiritual plane. After that day, the spirit returns to where it originally came from, namely the spiritual realm. The one thing I want to warn about during this period: the bereaved family sometimes has the sense of deep sorrow and cannot release attachment to the departed for a long time. It is understandable, but too much grieving and attachment for too long is not good for the departed soul itself. When the family's grieving and the attachment is too strong for a long time, it draws in and restricts the departed soul, and it cannot move on to the spiritual realm as it should in the natural course of events. About 100 days, After about 100 days, the family should try to release the sense of sorrow and grief and forget the departed person. Images of the departed can be displayed on the altar or some other place for about 100 days, then can be removed and stored for some time. Once the strong grief and emotional attachment is lessened considerably, the pictures can be displayed once again. I'm going to explain briefly the meaning of the family ancestral altar or shrine. The inside of the ancestral altar is a prototype of the pure land of paradise, or heaven. The family members invite the spirits of all the ancestors and loved ones to come to this altar. Paradise is a place where all kinds of flowers are in full bloom, permeating the air with their lovely scents, where pleasant music is always played, and where there is an abundance of food and drink, so the spiritual beings enjoy a life of happiness and bliss. In order to make a little model of the life of paradise, the surviving family members place flowers, burn incense in Buddhism, and make food offerings. They strike the bell twice or clap hands twice to send a signal that family members are there to greet the ancestors and loved ones. Hearing this, almost instantaneously, many spiritual beings come and gather together at the ancestral altar. You may wonder how so many hundreds of spirits can gather inside the small ancestral altar standing in rows. However, spirits can expand or contract freely. So, when they gather at a family ancestral altar, they contract themselves into small forms suitable for the size of the shrine. As there are many divisions, upper to lower, in the spiritual realm, there are many spiritual levels in the shrine or altar. And as the spirits gather there, they stand in rows, some on the higher levels, some on the middle levels, and some on the lower levels, in the right order according to the spiritual positions to which they belong. As human beings pray and greet them, they too bow their heads in acknowledgement. As food offerings are made, they absorb the spiritual vibrations of the food. They need only a very small amount, so the remainder of the offerings is given away to the spirits who are still suffering in the realm of hunger on the lowest level, hell. It is similar to the fact that in the physical world, rich people give charities or try to help alleviate the conditions of poverty and hunger faced by less privileged people. By these acts of virtue, the spirits of the ancestors and loved ones of the family are spiritually elevated to higher levels. So, you should perform these acts not just on anniversary days when you have an annual memorial service, but even on ordinary days. Whenever you have some special food, such as the first crop of the season, a rare special delicacy you receive as a gift, or something you think is especially tasty that you brought or cooked, before you eat it, you can offer a small portion of these foods on the family ancestral altar. There is an old saying in Japan that goes, when you want to be dutiful to your parents, they are already gone. This is not true from our point of view. Rather, you can be more dutiful to them by fulfilling your filial duties spiritually. Also, needless to say, they all love to have you visit their graves and or have annual memorial services held for them. Therefore, the surviving members of the family and friends should give memorial services for the spirits of the deceased regularly, because through these services, the spiritual beings can receive light and be raised to higher levels. For some of them who are still on the lowest levels, the time for them to be freed from their suffering can be expedited. When the descendants neglect to send their love and prayers to the ancestors and loved ones through memorial services, those spirits in the spiritual realm who want to receive love and light from the descendants might feel lonely, and they might send some sign or a signal to let the descendants know their desire. When the descendants change their religious affiliation and remove the family ancestral altar because of the new faith, some of the ancestors might be upset and give some warning to make them aware of their displeasure.
We will now have greetings from the president of the Miroku Association, Reverend Marco Negrão.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our annual ancestor service. So I would like to express my gratitude for your support in so many ways, most especially through the channeling and receiving Jorday, also studying Mish Sama's teachings. So that's our contribution, our efforts in trying to create a prototype of paradise here in North America as well. The names of our loved ones who reside in the spiritual realm were placed upon our sacred altar. Through this action, we believe that they will receive light from God and Vishnu Sama and elevate their spiritual levels by rising in spiritual vibration. That's okay, you can keep. uh, by rising their spiritual vibration. So they can assist us if they are in a condition that they themselves need help. They cannot offer any help. But so that's the importance of placing the names. Now, we do have a monthly ancestor service where we also place the names of our ancestors on the altar. So, what's the difference? The difference is that once we pray to God at Mishu Sama, we ask permission, reporting like this. In this particular day, in our case here, September 7th, we'd like to have an annual ancestor service. It means this day is the only day throughout the year that all those people that we invited to the performance are allowed to participate. Like the spiritual doors of the spiritual realm open on this particular day. We have our local centers in Toronto, in Boston, in Los Angeles, in Miami, Orlando. They will have their local services. So it's like the doors of the spiritual realm for them will open on a particular day. In Japan, they have in August. In Brazil, in November 2nd. Particularly because of a Catholic tradition, November 2nd is the All Souls Day. That's why they do a service like that. Now, we believe each one of us, we have three spirits. We have a primary spirit, a secondary spirit, and a guardian spirit. So the primary spirit is the positive side, and the negative side is represented by the secondary spirit, which is kind of animalistic in nature. And we have also selected amongst the ancestors the guardian spirit. The guardian spirit receives the mission to protect us, to give us signs, warnings, also to give us ideas and artistic inspiration. We hear stories, right? People wake up in the middle of the night with some idea. If you're a musician, oh, I have this tune in my head. Let me go to the guitar or piano to before I forget, right? Or a writer or a painter. Or let me take notes. I saw this vision. So this comes from the guardian spirit. Look, do this. Be good for you. Formula for success. Now, again, if the ancestors themselves are still living in despair in meager conditions, they're in the position of asking, giving, providing. So here is an example of how they may provide help and assistance. A regular visitor to the Joy Center was receiving the benefits of receiving Joy. Consequently, he kept coming to the center. However, he was still battling with alcohol abuse. Then one day, while driving when he shouldn't, because he had more than the legal limit of consuming alcohol, he almost hit a kid that was crossing the street. A few days later, again at the Joy Center, someone received a very clear and strong spiritual message for him. One of his ancestors manifested saying, "You have no idea how many of us spirits were there preventing, they were in front of the car holding, preventing the kid to be hit. It would destroy your life, and we too would drop in spiritual vibration. Most probably, we won't receive permission again to intercede directly like we did. So we ask you, please stop drinking." That's part of the story. I don't know what happened with this person afterwards, but for me, when I heard this story, so was this clear message of how ancestors, guardian spirits, they can act upon. But that's only by God's permission too. In special occasions, well, they can do such a thing. We can elevate ourselves by praying to them, like we just did. However, accumulating virtues, deeds, will definitely impact them in a positive fashion, more strongly. Becoming, for instance, a channel of the divine light of Jolene and seeking opportunities to share that light is a great way, excellent way to accumulate virtue. Yet becoming a member is just entering the gate. Our goal in faith is to reach what we call the innermost room of faith. Mishama said these words: becoming a member means learning the method of saving people. Therefore, after completing the new membership course, a person should strive to save as many people as possible because, in doing so, they will receive true blessings. Completing the new member training course only means that one has entered the gate of faith. After that, one must go through the entrance hall and reach the living room. Otherwise, it's not right. And in this living room, if you imagine a temple, it's like where the main altar is always the life memorial of the death, right? Of the building. The teaching today, we just heard, was a long teaching, but it had many important points. Talks about food for ancestors. Uh, so, offering foods for ancestors, you may think, oh, uh, sounds like a good idea. Let me do this at home. Kids, don't do this at home. If you don't have an altar dedicated, like a divine scroll, like the one we have, and an ancestral altar, that's the proper place to offer food for the ancestors. Because what happens if you just think this is a good idea, and then in the center dining table, let's say you put some fruits or whatever, and think about the ancestors coming. Yeah, your ancestors make about other spirits that don't belong to your family, like earthbound spirits may also. Oh, there's food here. I'm starving, and they come and don't leave. They don't want to do it, right? They don't. So while you don't have an altar, you can offer something special to your ancestors, which is the enshrinement protocol. In Japanese, this is called Sodei Saishi. So through it, your ancestors will have a place designated for them at the sacred ground and enjoy the flowers and fruits offered there. And when you finally have an altar on your home, then you can offer foods that you know they especially like. But this is a serious business in which the right attitude becomes the most important part of giving. Mesusama recounted. A newly deceased spirit once spoke through a medium, telling the surviving members of her family that she was so thirsty, her throat had become sore. One of her relatives said, "But we offered you water. Don't you know that?" The spirit said, "I know, but I can't drink it because your attitude of giving was wrong." So spiritual beings can drink water. It's like the essence, the spirit of the water. If surviving family members offer it with loving hearts. But if they let someone else, such for instance as a maid, let do the offering, they will not take it. They demand, no, it has to be my family. I will not accept from anyone else. Or even if they drink the essence of the water, they feel it doesn't taste good because it has to have love. In all matters pertaining to the spiritual, one's consciousness is vitally important. Another passage by Meishu-sama. Here's something that happened. A woman who recently received Yohikari that was in Bikku, Japan, had since been devoutly honoring her ancestors. About a month later, during her reading of the teachings, the spirit possessed her. Just then her husband came upstairs, and when asked, the spirit revealed itself to be her mother, her deceased mother. She said, "Oh, until now we were barely honored and lived like vagrants in the spiritual realm. It was truly painful. But now, thanks to your sincere offerings, we are very happy. Please continue to follow this path and never abandon it." Then the spirit left. So this is an example that if we engage ourselves in spiritual work, we try to elevate ourselves, our ancestors will elevate themselves as well. So ancestors receive light in the spiritual realm in such a way. A questioner to Meshusa. I dedicate a divine scroll on my homeless path. Since that time when I talked about the canon, Kuan Yin, my body becomes very heavy. Before joining Jode, I belonged to a faith that was based on a lower deed. Is that the reason for this heavy feeling? That was the question. Mishu-san. Oh, this is caused by that deity, or else by one of your ancestors who had a strong belief in the same deity, who's bothering you because it doesn't like God's light. In this case, you don't have to do anything specific. Just pray the Amatsu no Rito as a divine scroll every day and read on one of my poems. And gradually the spirit will be purified gradually and begin to understand. When it feels better, you will also. There could be another reason. When one of your ancestors listened to the stories of Canon or the teachings, for instance, that ancestral spirit may come to you. And then you feel heavy. But in this case, the spirit is not challenging your faith. So there are these two conditions. When your ancestral spirits are higher in the spiritual realm, they can listen to the teachings, wherever they are. But if an ancestral spirit is below the middle level in the spiritual realm, they must possess a human being and hear the teachings through a living person's ear. But by possession is not mean that the person will be totally unconscious. They'll be leaning over. They will be kind of too close. But that's the way that they can hear the teaching. In spiritual realm, sorry. In the spiritual realm, so this is the way they convey the teachings to other spirits. So a spirit will listen and then go back to the spiritual realm and share the message. Oh, this is what I just heard. I have good news. Someone said that. So sometimes choosing a representative amongst them to do that kind of job. So those spirits can be helped by the teachings and feeling deep appreciation. They go to other spirits and convey again the message. That's the way the Jorei work expands in the spiritual realm. For instance, there are about 100 people, maybe someone was saying, listening to the teaching, like, or here, let's say here are 40, 50 people. But spiritually, there are maybe 500. We invited all of them, right? Many names on the wall. Welcome, ancestors, listening to this message, right? There is also the case of attachment. The teaching was talking about that sometimes people departed and oh, I can't forgive or I can't accept the fact that my loved one died, right? So what to do? Person asked to Meshu-sama about her husband. Before he died, my husband asked me not to get married again. But my parents are opposed to this wish. What should I do? Someone said, this all depends on the husband's attachment. If the attachment is very strong, can be troublesome. So you are 28 years old. Have firm faith in God and dedicate a divine scroll in your home. Dedicate a divine scroll in your home. Try to do many good things for others and then wait for 1 or 2 years. Then you can marry again. Because through your faith, your husband's spirit will be purified and he will change his mind. He will realize that his request was wrong. And also, when you pray for your husband, once in a while you should say to him that it's difficult for you to be alone. Come on, give me a break, right? I deserve to have somebody else in my life. If you ask him to understand your situation, his spirit will gradually awaken. If he is too stubborn, other ancestors will approach him and discuss this with him. Let her marry again. Stop this nonsense kind of attachment, right? And also, when you should pray under your divine scroll, the spirit of the divine scroll will work to strengthen things up for you. If the attachment is strong, it will take a little time, but in 1 or 2 years, you will be all right. Now, talk about a lot about divine scroll, right? What's the significance? Person asked me, Susanna, why is that receiving just religious instructions, lessons, right? May it not be enough? And why one should dedicate a divine scroll at home? And someone said, when the divine scroll is dedicated, the spiritual realm of the household becomes illuminated. Without dedicating divine scroll, it still remains dark, in darkness. Darkness represents hell, which is why salvation cannot be attained without light. Moreover, when one prays to the divine scroll, they receive divine radiance each time. Like we did today, we prayed, receive radiance, purified. So purifies the home atmosphere gradually. This makes a tremendous difference. Without dedicating the divine scroll, one cannot be said to have truly entered the faith. Like Mr. Matar, you enter the gate, you have to go to the innermost room. So that's a step to go to the innermost room. Dedicating the divine scroll, again, has this meaning. However, simply stepping inside is not enough. One must also proceed further from the entrance to the inner tent. Without doing so, one cannot reach paradise. This is also why receiving religious instructions alone is not enough. I believe our ancestors want to receive the light they could if, for instance, while attending a service like today's annual ancestor service, if we are not focused, acknowledging their presence, like I said, we invite them, so they are around here. But let's say if I'm not really thinking about, and here I am with my smartphone, right? Look at something else without, oh, well, let's at least, this is once a year kind of thing. At least once a year, let's give them quality time, right? While again, you don't have a divine scroll or these ancestors, in Japanese we call mitamaya, the ancestors oratory. You don't have one yet. One thing you could do is think about your ancestors when you're going to enjoy a meal. I have these ancestors out there at home. So every day, at least once a day, we offer something to them. Before we serve ourselves, well, let's think about the ancestors first. We reserve a small portion, we have these small dishes and offer to them. But let's suppose I'm traveling or I am dining out. Then I cannot do that, but I can think about that. For instance, my father loved spaghetti with tomato sauce. If I'm enjoying spaghetti with tomato sauce, remember, oh, my daddy loved that. I can think about that. Think that, look, very good spaghetti, right? Organic. It's tasty, right? I like coffee too. If I'm enjoying a little coffee, I'm not thinking about him. I'm not offering directly, right? but I'm acknowledging that, or other ancestors as well. So this is something we do as a preparation. It's not a substitute to have the real help, right? But instead, so we train ourselves with the concept, right, of offering food to the ancestors. And offering foods may make your ancestors happy, okay, but guiding others to be instruments of the divine light, I believe is the most effective way to elevate them. But we pray, yes, we make them happy, but they need a boost in energy to elevate themselves. Guiding others is an effective way to do that. Mr. Sama said, in society, it is common for our efforts to go unrecognized, even if we have given our utmost. However, we should not worry about that. What truly matters is being loved by God. What does it mean to be loved by God? It means helping others, even if it is just saving one sick person and making them healthy. Whether it is 100, 10, or just one person. Since saving others brings joy to God, that's all we need to do. If we think in a complicated way, everything will seem complicated. If we think simply, everything will become simple. Can you skip that part? Or skip this. I have just one more experience regarding ancestors I would like to share, because it is annual ancestor service in San Francisco. Uh, I served over there for 93, from 93 to 99. One person came one day, and I gave him Jose, and I asked him, oh, by the way, how you heard about us? So this is what happened. I was sitting on my couch. For no apparent reason, no logical reason, a book fell from the shelf. Fell open, inside was a pamphlet. I came to check if you guys were still here. So I looked at the pamphlet, that was 93. The pamphlet was 20 years old. He first received it in 1973. So he came to check if we were in the same location, right? So and then I gave him Jore, whatnot. This is the example. So when the ancestors are desperate for light, they will be able to manifest themselves through physical means. Maybe they were trying to give him messages prior to that, but he was not listening to them. What's the only way? Okay, here, the book with the address, let's drop it. Take a look. Go there, right? So that's how we. Uh, Today we have this wonderful exhibition taking place here. Here in the outer room we have 8 original calligraphies. In our offices back there we have another 5 original calligraphies. And after the service we are going to have a performance. I heard there is a band called Robinson the Light Bearers. So they will play music for everyone. It's enjoyment. But the point is, the not sure. Right? You have a talk to me. I don't do that. The importance when enjoying art, or today we are enjoying the flowers, right? The calligraphies. Let's invite the ancestors in the process to enjoy by yourself. So can you imagine you think, well, I was talking about my father, right? Hey, Dad, look at this. This is original from Mishusama. It's already very special to have a copy. Can you imagine it being in front of a original? Let's appreciate it. So let's do that. Because we invite them. They are here. And some of you may see them. I don't. I can see them. You may see them, right? Or feel their presence. So do this together. Okay? And last but not least, we have a The group, there are three ministers here. Nilsson, Guilherme, and Terry are taking a group, pilgrimage group to Japan, this month. You can write prayers, and they will be happy to take your prayers with them to be placed upon the altar in the Atami sacred grounds. Okay? You can ask me some anything. You think about it. If feels your request is reasonable, they attend. Okay? You can do that. And they also assured me that because three will not be here, don't worry, our members will cover for us. They'll be coming in almost every day to help you. You won't be alone. Can I count on you on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Can I count on you for that? Okay, now you can travel in peace. Okay? At least one or two said, no, we will be coming. We will help. All right. So thank you very much. Enjoy the art exhibition, and I wish you success in the fulfillment of your wishes throughout the month. Have a safe return to your homes.
Thank you.
This concludes our service today. Thank you very much for joining us. We wish you a blessed day.
Okay,